Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show on this Monday, March 13th, 2023. Thank you for tuning in. Glad to have you here. Now, you guys tuned in because you want my take on this financial banking crisis that's occurring right now. And yes, my take is different than what you're going to hear anywhere else on these channels. It's a little bit different. First thing I want to explain to you guys is, think about it for a minute. All of you out there, you enjoy the life you have. You wouldn't want your life to be... How many of you out there right now would want to be totally without food, totally without shelter, in some sort of a Mad Max environment with dangers on every corner? With no lights, no power, no way to wash yourself. Well, I'm going to tell you, think about the rich people out there right now. What kind of a lifestyle they have. All the one percenters. All of the politicians. All of the rich people. Picture them in your mind right now. All of the world leaders. Picture what a cushy life they have. Doesn't matter if it's the whole world. Chinese leaders, posh hotels they go to. The Russian leaders, same thing. The American people in positions of power, they're everything's cushy. Cushy, I mean, eat anything they want to eat. If they don't like the taste of something, maybe they ordered some shrimp cocktail and I don't quite like the taste of this sauce. Send it back. Get me a new one. Just the most cushy life you could imagine. Now, what's facing them is a horrible existence, the system collapsing. And they didn't get in positions of power by being stupid. They know that if the system collapses, it could go into a Mad Max type world, and they don't want that. It's the last thing they want. In fact, this is what keeps them up at night. This is what gives them bad dreams. And they all know that this could happen if they're not careful. If they don't do... Now, what's on the other side of this? All these rich people out there, they have control. You don't. Over the system. They have something called a printing press. And it's an unlimited printing press. Don't listen to any of these stories out there that the Federal Reserve, they can't do this or they can't do that. Let's talk about what they can do. They can create unlimited amounts of fiat currency. So what can that do? What can them creating unlimited amounts of fiat currency do? Well, it can make solvent a bank that's unsolvent. It can make all investors in the system whole again. Even the ones that are not insured. Like from Silicon Bank. A lot of them are not insured today and they can't make payroll. Well, the unlimited printing press can say that they can make payroll. What else can the unlimited printing press? And believe me, I've been preaching this for ages on my channel. I've been telling you guys. And you guys are saying, I got to run into the bank, take my money out. I got to take my money out. I'm going to lose all my money. Because the FDIC's only got $200 billion. Never forget, they have an unlimited printing press. They can backstop the FDIC if it runs into trouble. And they will do anything that they have to do. They will do anything. Trust me when I tell you, rather than see the system collapse, rather than lose their cushy lives, when it comes right down to the nitty-gritty crunch of it all, they will do anything that they have to do. Mario Draghi said it best. Whatever it takes. They will do anything, and they have an unlimited printing press. They can create unlimited. Do you remember during COVID crisis, they just cut everybody in America a check? Don't tell me they can't. They can't. Don't tell me they can't do it again. I don't want to hear that because I know it's not true. They can, and they will. So what about your money in the bank, insured by the FDIC? You say, oh, well, the FDIC's only got $200 billion, and if the banking system goes down, I'll only get a fraction of my money back. But this is not what's in question, guys. What's in question is what's your money going to be worth. It's not whether you're going to get your money. You're going to get your money because they're going to keep the system going. And in order to do so, they're going to print. And this means they're going to backstop the banking system. But what's your money going to be worth? Because now we're facing a crisis situation right here. This is not going to solve anything. Them printing this money is going to create another disaster, but the disaster's a little bit more slow. It's a little bit more insidious. It's a disaster called inflation. What's your money going to be worth? So herein lies the problem. Not so much you getting your money out, although there could be some problems with that. Because this thing, we don't know how far this thing's going to spread even yet. But the real problem is, what's your money going to be able to buy? This is the time to get your money out of the dollar and into something that's not dependent upon the direction the dollar's moving. So if the dollar's losing value, stocks, bonds, they're all connected to the dollar. They're all dollar-denominated asset classes. The real key to understanding this is understand that they will backstop the system at the price of the dollar. That's what they're going to do. That's what they're already beginning to do. And if you think they're going to quit now, if you think you've seen it all, they're going to pour money, as much money as they have to keep this system running. So what does that mean? It means they're going to destroy the purchasing power of your dollars. And at a certain point in time, I can't tell you exactly when, non-dollar denominated assets, which are only a few out there. There's gold, there's silver, and there's cryptocurrencies. That's it. You notice at the start of this thing, it's just the beginning, by the way, you notice that the price is moving up on non-dollar denominated assets. And I'm here to tell you, now this crisis has started, this whole thing that's happening right now is going to be repeated in small amounts in the system over the next period in time. It's going to be a repeat, wash, rinse, repeat. You're going to have parts of the system that start to fail, and then they're going to prop it up with more money, with more what I call money, which is not really money, it's just currency units. This is going to depreciate the purchasing power of the dollar even further. This is rocket fuel for gold, silver, and cryptocurrencies. And you're on the ground floor right now, even still. I know silver went up over $1, but don't be greedy. It's still on the ground floor compared to where it's going. Okay? And we've just made, with this banking crisis, we've just turned a corner in the financial system. This is showing the Fed's hand. This is showing what they will do. They will support the system. And I've been telling you guys this all along, that they're going to pivot. They're going to change directions. There's going to be a 180-degree turn from tight, them being tight, and them being like, hawkish, to uber dovish. I've told you guys this is coming. I've been saying it over and over again. The Fed's going to pivot. The Fed's going to pivot. Well, here we go. They've showed their hand. And it's not like I didn't know that that's what they were going to do. You guys, if you've been watching my channel, you knew this is what they were going to do. Is your money safe in the bank? Probably, because they're going to backstop it. They're going to first off, they're going to backstop all deposits up to $250,000. So, but it's regardless if your money's in the bank or out of the bank. It's going to lose its purchasing power. And this is the important part. This is the part you guys aren't getting because the dollar's still holding purchasing power to a certain degree. This is the death knell. To get out of the dollar. Get into something of real values, tangible assets. And whether it's gold, whether it's silver, whether it's cryptos, whether it's... I don't like cryptos that much. But I'm using logic here. Logic tells me that cryptos are a non-dollar denominated asset, and there's only a few. Things like art. I would prefer crypto over art, just me personally. You know. Because if crypto is I consider, well, there's also things like wine, old wine, and, you know, there's other things. Coin collections, and these are all real things. Old cars, you know, maybe a prime piece of farmland, things like that. These are all real things, ways out of the dollar. Even the guy over there who's rolling up copper pennies for himself, he's going to save himself. We're headed toward hyperinflation. There's no way out of it. The only way out of it is for the Federal Reserve and their cronies to let the system fail. Let it deflate. And they cannot do that. They're going to keep pumping this system up until the very end because they want to keep their cushy lifestyle. They don't want the system to collapse. And perhaps it's for the best because all of us have, actually, in our own little way, we all have cushy lifestyles. We don't want to be no food, no shelter, no lights, no power, no nothing. I know a lot of you guys are out there, let her fail, let her go. But then, if they did, just think about what your life would be like 2 or 3 months down the line after they let her fail. You might be crawling in the ditch looking for earthworms to eat. Seriously, because it would affect each and every one of us, not just the fat cats. Yeah, the fat cats would find it worse than... They wouldn't survive as good as the people would. Because the people are ingenious, and they used to having to survive, because these fat cats force us into being able to learn how to survive for ourselves. They can't survive at all. They're like the queen mama ant they're like the big queen inside the nest of termites, you know. And I mean, she can't even move. She's so big and fat. All she does is lay eggs. She can't even feed herself. They got to feed her. That's what these rich people are like. And we're like the worker ants, you know. We're able to do a little something. But if the organization of the colony fails, then we're going to be in trouble too. But maybe not as much trouble as that big fat queen who's sitting there who can't even move. Okay? But this is the way it is. So they're not going to let that happen. They're not going to let the colony fail. But what they're going to do is keep pumping it full of this artificial money. This Treasury Reserve notes. They're just going to keep popping them off to keep the system going. And eventually there's going to be a run on it. A run to dump them. This is the problem. Not so much whether the banks will keep your money or not, or your money's not safe. The problem is, what's your money going to be worth? It's time to get it into real hard assets, things that you can put your hand on. Things that exist in the real world. And of these assets, probably my favorite is silver. Real physical silver. That's my favorite one of them, of these assets, to use for this purpose. Because it fits for the common man. That's what I think probably the premier one is. Okay? But there's others, depending on your choice. Another one I like is copper. Copper pennies. I really like that. And I like nickel, too. Nickel penny. Nickel dot. You know what I mean. Nickels. They're worth 5 cents. And get the ones that are made out of real nickel. They're great. Right? But I mean, this covers all of you guys. I'm not talking about you got to buy a big lump of gold that you haven't got money to buy. But all of us can afford a nickel. Learn how to test the nickels. Start putting them away for yourself. You got to protect yourself now, or you're not going to be eating pretty soon. If all you got's dollars. The dollar's going to go down so fast, guys, into this hyperinflation. We're getting so close to it now. Yeah, we got, like they say, 8% inflation, but it ain't. It's more like 16, maybe 20% right now. And you're going to see what's coming. A tidal wave of inflation. It's going to be useless to keep your money in the bank. You could have $100,000 in the bank right now. And maybe a year from now, it will cost more in gasoline to drive to the bank than withdraw your $100,000 and the $100,000's worth. It ain't going to be worth a gallon of gas. But right now, you could think how much of real tangible assets you could buy with $100,000 right now. If you get in ahead of this thing. We're on the ground floor. That's why I tell you we're on the ground floor still. Even though silver's went up $1 or so, that's nothing. It was way too low to begin with. Anyway, guys, take a look at this. Credit Suisse hits record high as Silicon Valley Bank crisis spreads to Europe. Boom, boom, boom. There she is. It's a spreading contagion. But they will keep, like I tell you, they will fix all this. And they're already in the works of fixing it. They're making it go away. They're smoothing it over right now as we speak. But at what cost? The cost of the dollar. And why do I say that? Well, I mean, look. Dollar index. It's not up. Looks to me like it's going down. 103. But this is being compared against the euro. Let's compare it against gold and silver and see what it does. Oh, gosh. Take a look at gold and silver today. Look at silver up $1.30, and it's just continuing to go up. This is just the beginning, guys. Real hard, tangible assets will make you so that you have when your neighbors don't have. When it comes down to it in the end, it doesn't matter how much. I don't care if they're making $500,000 a year and they're right next door to you, and you're only making $40,000. Right? If you put away in hard tangible assets right now and they don't, you will be richer than them. I guarantee it. Because they're $500,000 a year or what. It doesn't matter. $2 million a year. It doesn't matter. 2 million times 0 is still 0. This is where we're going with this. Ultimately, the government's going to hit a point where they're going to embrace inflation. They're fighting it now. They've just lost the first major battle. More battles will be lost soon. And after a while, they'll give in to it. And they'll adopt it. And they'll embrace it. And they'll go with it. And they'll fund everything that they need to fund. Pensions, everything. Social Security, it doesn't matter. Once they hit a certain point and they give up fighting it, and they just go ahead and write that check. Blank check for everything. And they try to pay for the entire system, including the homeless people and everything, with cheap, easy money. This is a monetary experiment they're running right now, and it's going to come to a disastrous conclusion for the dollar. And you got to get into these hard assets, and you got to do it now. Taking your money out of the bank might feel good, but it's not really the answer, because it's still fiat. It's still crap. So you might have a big pile of crap sitting on your table this morning, you know? And it's going to be crap, and that's going to continue to be crap. You got to get that crap into something that is real and physical in the real world. It's not just a big pile of paper. You got to start thinking this way. Otherwise, you're not going to have anything to eat at a certain point in time if you stay in this paper Ponzi. Okay, guys, enough ranting about that. But they're gonna smooth this over, this banking crisis. They're gonna watch them smooth it over. They're already in the works of smoothing it over. This is what I want to tell you guys. You know, but if they continue, if they even think about raising rates higher and stuff, they're gonna have more banking crises. They're gonna have more crises in the system. That maybe next time it might not be a banking crisis. Maybe next time it might be a derivatives crisis. Or a high yield crisis in the high yield debt market. Or if they keep raising rates. So they're hitting the end of the raising rate cycle now at this point. And now the only one way for it to go, if they're not raising rates, they're going to drop rates. And rates are going to drop down. They're going to go into the negative. That's where we're headed. You know, and at the same time, they're going to be pumping more money out there than you could imagine. Good times are here again. Except prices they're gonna adopt inflation. They're just gonna add zeros. And who knows how long they can keep this game going before the dollar's finally absolute zero. Then they have to readjust the system. I don't know. Maybe it might take 3 years for the dollar to hit absolute zero. And then they have to come in and reset the system. Reset the Ponzi scheme. Make it worse for all of us, even probably, with a CIBDC or whatever in the hell you want to call it. Okay, guys. Enough of that. $21.84 for silver, $1.32. Oh, what's it now? Okay, so it's pretty much because they're smoothing this over, but it's giving us signals. I think this one's pretty much getting. I think they're going to get it smoothed over. That's what I think. But it's giving us signals which direction everything's going to go. Silver and gold up. Dollar down. Those are the signals. If you missed it, you know. Dow Jones today, you seeing it's up 243 points. A lot of you are probably surprised. You thought it was going to be a crash. But now this is really telling us a lot. In fact, what it's telling us is the Fed's going to backstop everything no matter what they got to do, how they're going to print. And we didn't know for sure until we see them do it. It's like you can't tell for 100% sure what a person's going to do or how they're going to react until you see them react. So before today, I was telling you guys the Fed's going to do this, the Fed's going to do that. I thought that's what they're going to do, but you don't know for sure until you see them do it. Now we see them do it. They're going to support the system no matter what it takes. Now we know. Now we know the dollar's toast. But now we know the system's going to continue to function because they're going to keep pumping liquidity into it. So now we know the direction. It's very simple. Crude oil, $75.83. It means you got to get out of them dollars and into something of real value and quick. Unless you want to get poorer and poorer as the dollar loses purchasing power. And this effect is going to get stronger and stronger. It'll make everybody poor. Even the ones who get into real assets, you know, at least you're going to have something you can carry through it. But it's going to make everybody poor because everybody relies on the dollar, even the people who are stacked silver and people who got real physical assets put away and stuff and land and farmland and paintings and everything else. They're still tied into this system, and this system is designed to make you poor, so they will get poorer. They're not going to come through this unscathed, But they're going to be able to retain some things of value through this rather than being totally destitute. So you don't want to be totally destitute. You got to get off into real hard tangible assets now. Basically what I'm telling you guys. Bonds and rates today. We're looking at falling yields, and they fell a lot. 10 years at 3.46. It's fell 22 basis points. And the U.S. 30 years at 3.58, and it's fell 11 basis points. People are taking their money out of the bank, and they're buying into U.S. Treasuries because they get a higher yield than they do in the money in the bank. And they see this as a safe haven asset. To get into the dollar as a safe haven asset. Did I just say that? That's what they think is the best thing to do right now, is to get into the dollar, because when you buy U.S. Treasuries, that's what you're doing. You're buying the dollar. And you get into the dollar as a safe haven asset. Honest to God, the system is just so messed up. And their way of thinking is so messed up. Maybe they've been listening to Kramer too much. Okay, guys. Thank you guys for listening to my show. Love my audience out there. And yeah, the take you got away on this show is a little bit different than everybody else. All these other channels, the sky is falling. No, the sky's not falling. The Fed's going to hold it up. But they're going to do so at the expense of the dollar. They're going to destroy the dollar. And if they decide to move in the other system, you say, okay, well, let's just talk about this just for a second. Okay? What if they didn't support the dollar? What if they'd let her fail? And you guys out there get holding dollars, you say, oh, wow, the dollar's going to, everything's going to deflate. I'm going to have a fortune. My dollars will be able to, I'll be able to scoop up assets for a penny on the dollar and everything else. And you're rubbing your hands together and I got dollars. Oh, boy, it ain't going to work like that. If they let her fail, the whole thing would just collapse into deflation because it's so over leveraged. And your dollars wouldn't buy anything. Because we would be dealing with total anarchy. Total destruction of the system. Everybody would be bankrupt. Everything that's connected to the banking system would go bankrupt. The little shop down the street where you go to buy your cola every morning, door closed. And then the people would go manic and crazy. There'd be no medications, nothing to keep them medded anymore. And where are you going to spend dollars if the system's not functioning? Your dollars would just be paper again. And then it would probably switch back, and people after a while, they'd have to do trade and stuff, and they'd probably go back to gold and silver in a world with no electricity. So either way, you're not going to get anywhere. This whole idea about I'm going to scoop up assets and pennies on the dollar and everything, it doesn't work either way. Even in a deflation, it doesn't work, because you think the deflation's going to miraculously stop and save the system? Why do you think they're pumping all that money out from the Federal Reserve to try to save the system from collapse? Because collapse means collapse. And when something's collapsed, it doesn't function. You got a library and you go to get books in your city, right? Well, if the library were to collapse, would you be able to get books still? No, it's a big concrete building that's laying on the ground and all the books are buried underneath rubble. You can't get any books. Well, that's the way with the dollars that you're holding. They only function if the system's not collapsed. If the system collapses, you can't use your dollars for anything. Nobody's going to want them. They can't eat. Make you eat with them. So either way, even in a system collapse, even if the Fed did let the system collapse, your dollars would still be worthless. Right? What would be worse, something even still, would be we'd end up going back to barter, and eventually the system would get back running again somehow. It might look totally different. People would have to have some means of, for a while it would just be barter, but after a while they would have to have a means of something fungible to use as money, and it would go back to gold and silver again. That's what it would, and it would revert back fairly quickly. Because you wouldn't have any internet anymore. You wouldn't have any telecommunications. You wouldn't have any power anymore. It would be just like Barter Town on Mad Max world, and ultimately gold and silver would be what they would use because that's what we were used for thousands of years. So either way, your gold and silver's in there square. You got it. That's what you need. Anyway, guys, thank you for listening to my show. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.